Missed by 8 Inches by Lionel D'Souza is a saga of two friends from a remote Indian town, whose journey leads them to manage U.S. Army facilities in a war zone. The core of the narrative is the tragic demise of one friend and the wrongful accusation of the other for leading him to his death. More than a story of loss and injustice, the book is a testament to the unyielding strength of their friendship, detailing their solidarity, shared laughter, and mutual support amid danger. It is a tribute to the unsung civilian contractors who work defenseless in war zones, sacrificing their lives, and whose stories of courage and sacrifice are often untold. Readers will journey with the two friends, witnessing the strength of their bond and the weight of their sacrifices. Please watch the previous chapters to help better understand Chapter 10. A brief recap. The narrative follows the narrator and his 6 Indian colleagues working in Saudi Arabia, where a cricket match and a chaotic entry into the country set the scene. The core of the story is the complex, repeatedly betrayed friendship with Andrew, foreshadowed by 2 instances of a pact broken during their school days and early career. Despite this, the narrator experiences cross-cultural connection in the Brothers-in-Arms chapter before pivoting his career with a new direction to life to work for the Australian Defence Force in Kuwait. He settles into a routine, is given a new assignment in Afghanistan for the U.S. Army, and finally, during a troop surge and entry, Andrew joins him there, displaying discomfort with the harsh realities of the war zone. We are now moving to Chapter 10, titled Dead But Alive from Missed by 8 Inches, authored by Lionel D'Souza. The operation was in full swing by 1900 HRS, with troops and trucks beginning to arrive back to the base. It was evident that some personnel would remain deployed. I was diligently monitoring all aspects of the operation. The returning troops headed straight to the cafeteria, where they expected hot meals. The bain-marys were preheated, ensuring that hot food was served promptly to the troops. At that moment, my physical exhaustion was palpable as I had surpassed 24 hours without a moment of sleep. Despite the fatigue, I persevered, aware that the operation was a marathon with an uncertain end. Internally, I sought updates on the duration of the surge, but complete information was not forthcoming as this was not a drill and a planned covert operation. Andrew was by my side throughout, though he seemed dissatisfied with the stressful workload. I perceived that those accustomed to working in Saudi had it easier with a routine of office work, meals, and sleep. In contrast, here the stakes were higher. It was a constant battle, with every moment carrying the weight of life or death. By 2300 HRS, I initiated breaks for my teams, starting with the control tower since all flights were grounded. Following were the engineering, catering, housekeeping, and finally, the body collection team. As the body collection team took their break for dinner in the cafeteria, my walkie-talkie crackled with an urgent message: body collection, GPS coordinates pinged, count approximate 9. The dinner break had commenced, and only the backup team was on duty as the main team had left for their meal. With the team leader absent, I took charge. I inquired if Andrew would be willing to accompany us, and despite being forewarned about the potentially distressing scene, he consented. Coordination with the escort and army security was swift, and within 5 minutes, we were en route from the base. The team consisted of 11 members plus Andrew. The GPS coordinates indicated a location approximately 90 kilometers from the base, translating to an estimated travel time of 2.5 hours. I advised Andrew to rest during the journey, and I too managed to catch some sleep before reaching our destination. Amidst the chaos, we bypassed the usual routes and arrived at the designated GPS coordinates by 0230 HRS. The darkness was punctuated by the presence of 4 guards stationed with the bodies. I directed my team to adhere to protocol and commence the bagging process. For Andrew, this was his first encounter with the stark reality of a war zone. The sight proved too much for him, and he became physically ill several times. As we continued, I noticed what appeared to be a slight movement of a finger on one of the bodies, indicating a chest casualty. To my astonishment, it was Kevin and his company, who had earlier in the day expressed a desire for a cricket match. Typically, our team was summoned for body collection only after death had been confirmed. Grasping Kevin's hand, I found it warm despite the blood that covered him. Instinctively, I checked for a pulse. Me and my team had received basic life support training at the base, and upon placing 2 fingers on his side of his neck, I detected a faint pulse. Doubtful, I leaned closer, pressing my ear against his bloodied chest, and to my relief and surprise, confirmed that he was indeed clinging to life, but only just. I shouted out to the soldiers, "He is alive and breathing, faint pulse but alive." The others, thinking I might have lost my senses, rushed over. One soldier verified the pulse and confirmed he was indeed alive. My team, who had been preparing the bodies for transport, quickly gathered around. I instructed my team to quicken the collection as we had one alive with us. With a 3-hour drive back to base, Kevin's slim chances of survival hung in the balance. It then dawned on me that air support was available in Kabul, which could be used to airlift Kevin. I immediately radioed the base for air support, but the response was disheartening. Due to insurgencies and the cover of darkness, air support was deemed unfeasible. I reached out once more to the control tower, this time with a sense of urgency, commanding for air support. The captain of the helicopter unit came on the line. "Please help, he is alive," I implored. By then, the guard stationed at the site had also communicated with the base, confirming that one of us was alive and requesting immediate support. In response to our collective pleas, the captain of the air wing unit finally consented to dispatch a rescue helicopter. I was asked to provide the coordinates, which I promptly did, sharing the same ones that had been given to me to reach the location. The chopper was estimated to arrive in 25 minutes, and by that time, we had bagged and loaded all the bodies, except for Kevin. Feeling helpless, there was little I could do for him except to keep pressure on his wounds from further bleeding. From the first aid kit, I retrieved bandages and gauze, applying pressure to the gunshot wound on the left side of his chest. Despite wearing a bulletproof vest, I suspected the shot was fired at close range, allowing the bullet to penetrate. Upon checking the back of the vest and finding no blood, I concluded that the bullet was not a pass-through and was lodged within his body, beyond my ability to assist any further. As the minutes ticked by, the distant hum of the helicopter grew louder in the stillness of the night. As it approached, the sound intensified, and soon, the flashing lights of the chopper were visible against the clear sky. The soldiers activated a neon light to pinpoint our exact location for the pilots. As the helicopter drew closer and hovered directly above us, a whirlwind of mud and sand erupted, akin to a cyclone. Within moments, a stretcher was lowered from the chopper. Together with the soldiers, I placed Kevin on the stretcher, secured the straps, and signaled for the helicopter to commence the lift. The stretcher was hoisted up and the helicopter departed. We, along with the 4 soldiers, boarded the trucks and set off for Kandahar. I communicated the completion of our mission over the radio, which was a standard protocol when scope was complete. Despite my attempts to rest during the journey back, sleep eluded me. I hoped and prayed fervently that Kevin would survive. 30 minutes later, I contacted the Kandahar control tower to inquire about the helicopter's status and was informed that it had safely landed in Kandahar. We arrived back at the base at 0630 hours, and I was completely exhausted. As we entered the base, the radio crackled to life once more, announcing, "Surge complete, departure at 1000 hours." This message was a welcome relief, signaling that the troops who had arrived for the surge would depart at 1000 hours, and normal operations at the base would resume. We handed over the personal effects and body bags to the medical team, as the bodies could only be released to us for further procedures after an initial examination and autopsy by the doctors. The following day, I visited the health center and found Kevin, now out of his uniform and dressed in a hospital gown. I inquired with the attending doctor about Kevin's chances and was told that he had lost a significant amount of blood. They needed more time to determine his outcome. Standing beside Kevin, who was considerably larger than me, I took his hand and encouraged him. "Kevin, our match is still on. You can't retire before your turn. Wake up." Tears and emotions filled myself, and although Kevin and I weren't related, our bond formed in Kuwait moved me deeply. The control tower was busy coordinating the departure of the troops in conjunction with the local air traffic control. By 1010 hours, the first flight had taken off, and all the personnel who had arrived for the operation had departed. We were responsible for overseeing the troops' exit and ensuring that everyone was accounted for. The reconciliation process began, tallying the personnel, and it was confirmed that a total of 4,929 had exited. There were 18 casualties. Kevin was receiving care in a health unit, for bodies had been returned by us, and the remaining 9 were brought back by the troops upon their return, injured and taking treatments at the base clinic. By 1300 hours, the base had returned to its usual state with the regularly stationed troops. Overcome with fatigue, I could no longer remain on my feet, so I took Andrew with me and we both took a 4-hour nap to recuperate. At 1800 hours, I returned to the health center to find that Kevin had regained consciousness. The doctors and the other troopers in the clinic had informed Kevin that it was I who had spotted him alive and made all the impossible efforts to bring him back, after he had been presumed dead. As I approached, Kevin weakly lifted his hand, grasped mine, and brought it to his lips in a gesture of gratitude. Even though he was weak, he called me closer to softly say a heartfelt thank you in my ear. I was at a loss for words, so I just smiled and nodded, silently wishing him a quick recovery, though I was feeling emotional. I spoke with the doctors regarding his prognosis and was informed that he is expected to make a full recovery and should be able to leave the base in 3 days. Over the next 3 days, I made it a point to visit Kevin 3 times daily, sitting with him and chatting for a few minutes each time. The day arrived for Kevin to return home to the US, and he was in the barracks. I visited him there and noticed he still had bandages around his chest and was limping slightly. As I approached, Kevin embraced me tightly and held on for nearly 2 minutes. When he finally let go, he stood tall and assured me that as long as he lived, he would not forget that he owed his life to me. He had been honored with a Silver Star for his bravery in action in Kuwait. In a touching gesture, he removed the star from its ribbon and handed it to me, insisting that the star belonged to me while the ribbon remained his. He expressed that he would always remember his life as a gift from me. Although I initially refused, he was adamant. I accompanied him to the hangar, waited for him to board the flight, and said goodbye, waving as he disappeared. End of Chapter 10. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more updates on the next chapters. Thank you for listening and subscribing.